O'Brien, I've got the doctor ordered here for your suppository for your bowel problem. Now come on, you gotta take it because you know you have that bowel problem. What's the matter, Brian?
This is embarrassing.
Oh, it's not embarrassing. Just because you have a bowel problem doesn't mean it's embarrassing, right?
I do, but I'm not going to take this.
Well, Brian, you have to take it. I'm sorry.
Let's do it. It's no.
As support staff, you are often reminded about how important it is to keep information private and confidential. Since you spend more time with the people you support than anyone else, you develop a close relationship to them. As a result, they come to trust you with their day-to-day personal information, believing you will keep it to yourself. Your organization collects and retains large amounts of information about the people you support in order to provide effective services. Much of this information will be of a sensitive and personal nature.
Yeah.
Well, hi guys. How you doing this morning?
Good. What's up, Kathy?
Well, I can't believe this, Aaron. Did you read this in the communication
No, what happened?
book? Jerry Jordan again wet the bed.
Again, fantastic.
So you know what that means. We have to totally...
Talking about the people you serve in a public place or to people who are not involved in their support breaks the trust they have placed in you regarding their confidential information. As you know, the Federal Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, better known as HIPAA, has changed the way health information is handled and conveyed, but this is only a small part of confidentiality. Confidentiality also applies to many other areas of the services you provide. Before we go any further, let's define confidentiality. Confidentiality means ensuring information that is given to you is only shared with those who need to know it in order to perform their job duties.
Yeah, Paul.
What's wrong, Brent?
My girlfriend's been mad at me.
Why's your girlfriend mad at you?
Well, I was hanging on my family too much.
She got a little jealous?
Well, yeah.
Confidentiality is about how you, as support staff, treat information once it has been disclosed to you, keeping private anything that has to do with the person's life. It is also about keeping private anything that has to do with the agency you work for, such as legal events and any agency financial information. Sometimes people think if they don't identify the person or agency, they can share information. This is not necessarily true. Even with identifying information removed, you may still be violating a person's or agency's right to confidentiality. Maintaining confidentiality can be hard at times. Human carelessness or interruptions may cause us to leave private information lying around, talk where others can overhear, or share too much information with other people. We try our best, but sometimes we don't realize the consequences of what we are doing or saying. These consequences can lead to a violation of a person's right to privacy.
You're not supposed to be reading this. I shouldn't have left this out.
As support staff, it is your job to protect confidential information. There are several reasons why we need to respect someone's right to confidentiality. First, it is the right thing to do. Everyone deserves to have their private information kept confidential. Next, it is required by law. When confidentiality is required by law and it is not followed, it is referred to as a breach of confidentiality. This can result in a person or agency being held liable for those actions. However, we should not need a law to make us do what is right. Also, it protects people. By maintaining confidentiality, we potentially protect people from embarrassment and discrimination. Lastly, it protects you. Failure to follow confidentiality laws may lead to your employer providing corrective or legal action against you. Sometimes it is very easy to identify information as confidential, and other times it can be more difficult. In general, if you are in doubt about whether or not it is confidential, do not share the information until you have clarification on its status. As support staff, you are also responsible for helping others to maintain confidentiality. Sometimes this is really hard to do.
Oh, hey, Beth, you're back from vacation?
Yes, I am.
Did you have a good time?
Oh, it was awesome. How's work going?
It's really hectic. I am so glad you're coming back.
Oh no, what's going on?
Well, Andy Graham...
It is human nature to be curious, and everyone wants to be in the loop of what is happening. If they are sharing information with you that you do not have a right to know, remind them they shouldn't share this information and then change the subject.
Melissa, did you hear about Elizabeth Carter? She had a heart attack and they rushed her to the emergency room and they don't know how she's
Hey,
doing.
ma'am, let's go in the office and talk about this.
If someone is sharing information with you in a location that does not ensure privacy, politely remind them about confidentiality and move to a more private location. Now that you understand what confidentiality is and what it applies to, it is important to discuss your role in ensuring that confidentiality is maintained where you work. In most cases, confidentiality is violated through carelessness. Most people do not purposely try to seek out confidential information they shouldn't have, but it does happen. A breach of confidentiality is a disclosure of private information to a third party without the person's consent or court order. A disclosure can happen during conversations, social networking, or meetings, also through documentation and electronic records such as email and faxing. Portable electronic devices such as smartphones and laptops increase the risk of a breach of confidentiality. Know the procedures for securing them and what to do in case they are lost or stolen. Be conscious of where and with whom you have conversations. Sometimes information is shared in an informal manner. You may not even realize you are revealing personal information without permission. If you are in a public place, you do not know who might overhear or how it may be interpreted. Public places are not the place to carry on confidential discussions.
Well, I want to talk to you guys about Bob Sykes. He went to the doctor again on Friday. He has a rash on his foot that's turned into some kind of fungus.
Ew.
Yeah, it's not good. The medication that he was put on, too, it doesn't seem to be helping.
Just because you might have the need to know the information does not mean you should talk about it in the environment you are in. Ask yourself, can other people hear me? Is there someone else present who does not need to know this information?
Hello? Oh, thank you, doctor, for getting back to me. Yeah, I wanted to ask about Bob Sykes. He's having a reaction to the medication you prescribed him for his foot.
It is also important to keep this in mind when you are talking on the phone, especially in public areas. Check the surroundings. If the conversation involves confidential information, always verify whom you are speaking to and move to a location where the phone conversation cannot be overheard. If you cannot speak directly to the person you need to reach, leave a generic message. There are a lot of people, for instance, family and friends, who know and care about the people you support. You will encounter them in the community and at the home where you work. It is normal to talk about the people you have in common, but are you maintaining confidentiality?
I'm doing good. Is Brian ready yet?
Not quite. He'll be ready in a minute.
Well, while we have a minute, Brian was telling me the other day that Mary is in the hospital. What's wrong with her?
I can't give you that information.
But I'm really concerned.
I know you're concerned, but I can't tell you she will be all right.
At no point should you ever discuss confidential information with people who do not have a need to know. Social media sites have gained in popularity as a way to keep in contact with family, friends, and the people you work with. However, there can be drawbacks to the usage of social media. Utilizing of social media networks can inadvertently give way to the sharing of confidential information with people that may not have a need to know. This can happen when you are sharing information about your day or about the people you support. This includes anything written or the posting of photos and videos. Meetings can present a challenge for maintaining confidentiality. Before sharing information at a meeting, make sure everyone present has a need to know.
So I'm just wondering how we can go about talking to the employer and, what are your thoughts about this? Do you have any thoughts?
Well, actually, yeah, I was at a previous house and I was working with this individual named Mary, and she had a very similar situation.
I'm so sorry for cutting you off, but, confidentiality, we really have to, not say anything with names. So maybe if you could tell us about it without naming names, that would be wonderful.
Sure, definitely. Well, in that situation,
If you cannot ensure confidentiality, do not share the information at that time or politely ask the people who do not need to know the information to leave. Personal records contain a lot of confidential information about the people you support. Progress and telephone notes, insurance information and tests, to name a few, should be kept in a secured location. Do not leave this personal information out in public areas, for instance on the kitchen counter or on the dashboard of a vehicle. If records are left in a public area, other people who do not need to know the information will have access to it. When circulating written information, make only one copy and pass it around. This helps maintain accountability for the materials, and it is less likely that it will get lost or left lying around. Much of the confidential information that you have may be stored in an electronic format. This presents its own challenges. The same laws and guidelines for written records apply to computer-based records. When dealing with electronically maintained information, keep the following guidelines in mind.
What's up, Brian?
Be aware of what is visible on your computer monitor. If possible, adjust your workspace so people cannot easily see it.
In a few minutes, okay? Sound good? All right, thank you.
Before leaving your computer, close any confidential information and, if your computer is not in a secure location, sign out. This is especially important when more than one person uses it. Finally, keep passwords private. If you are assigned a password in order to access specific records, do not share that password with anyone. If you feel your password has been compromised, talk to your supervisor. Much of the communication we have in this modern era is electronic in nature. It is vital that you consider how often it can take on a life of its own. Emails can easily be forwarded beyond their intended recipients, breaking confidentiality. The Reply All button on your email can instantly and irretrievably send information to multiple people. Limit fax transmissions to only the information necessary to meet the need. Make all reasonable effort to assure that information is faxed correctly to the intended recipient. Before you send an email or fax, ask yourself the following questions. Who has access to the information you are sending? Can this information be altered without your knowledge? Could the information be forwarded to others? Are security measures in place at the receiving end? Am I sending the information to the correct email address or fax number? Asking yourself these questions will help you to ensure confidentiality. Messages left on voicemail can easily be retrieved or heard by someone other than the intended recipient. For this reason, messages should be considered unsecured and should not contain personal or private information, such as a person's medical diagnosis or details about a support plan.
Hey Megan, can you give me a pair of underpants and pants for John?
Yeah, why? What happened?
Oh, he wet his pants again.
Yeah, just a minute.
Thanks.
How often have you heard someone yell personal information across the room in the home where you work? Things such as bathroom issues, behavior concerns, or if someone is sick? This is confidential information that should not be shared in this manner.
Here you go. Oh, thanks. You're welcome.
Also, be aware of talking to each other in front of the people you support, even if you believe they are sleeping. You don't know what they might be able to hear. Sometimes, a breach of confidentiality may not be about words, but actions. For example, when you leave the door open when assisting someone with personal care. It also includes posting information about the people you support in public areas of the home. For instance, posting a person's bathing schedule or dietary needs on a bulletin board or refrigerator. It is also important that you are teaching the people you support to respect confidentiality. They should know what personal information they should or should not be sharing, and with whom they can share it.
Hello, this is your food delivery?
Yeah, 5 we can't work anymore.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry, how much was that?
$22.50.
There you go. Thank you.
Ask yourself, is the person sharing confidential information with a stranger, a family member, friend, or acquaintance? Are they sharing private information about a staff person or the organization?
John, do you remember earlier today when they delivered food?
Yeah,
Do you remember what you said about Bob?
yeah, 5 we can't work anymore.
Correct, exactly. That information you shouldn't share with anyone. Only
That's right.
Bob can share that information.
Yeah.
Teaching about confidentiality may be an ongoing process, but to maintain confidentiality in the home where you work, teaching must happen. By helping the people you support understand the importance of confidentiality, you will be ensuring their privacy and the privacy of others. However, keep in mind that the person has the right to share their own information whenever and with whomever they choose. It is easy to break confidentiality if you are not careful. You are trusted each day with confidential information about the people you support. They feel safe telling you personal details about their lives and their health because they trust you will keep it to yourself. Keeping this in mind, it is your responsibility to respect people's rights and to make sure you do not violate the privacy of confidential information. Confidentiality is not just about medical documents, phone numbers, and your organization's rules. It is about dignity and respect for the people you support.